The following program is produced by Project Bait and does not reflect the views of this station.
This is Mark Wells, and this is another Wells Report for My People. For today's Wells Report, I wanted to talk a little bit about a subject that we rarely talk about here at Project Bait. That is, unless its importance has some sort of relevance outside of the topic itself. I'm speaking of the world of sports, and today I will present a little information about a sport that doesn't really get the same coverage as the established Big Four of American sports. The Big Four being basketball, baseball, football, and hockey. By the time this segment airs, the classic NBA rivalry between the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Lakers will either be over or close to being over, with the winning team securing the bragging rights of having won 2 of the last 3 NBA finals. Although the popularity of basketball continues to grow globally, it is nowhere near the popularity of soccer, or football as it is known in the vast majority of countries beyond U.S. borders. Between June 11th and July 11th, the FIFA World Cup, soccer's most celebrated tournament, will be played in various cities throughout the nation of South Africa. This is the first World Cup tournament to ever be played on the continent of Africa, and 6 African national teams qualified to compete in a field of 32. Those 6 African nations are Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Algeria, Cameroon, and South Africa. In some ways, the World Cup is somewhat similar to the Olympics in that these games are played only every 4 years, and that each team is an all-star team consisting of the best players that these countries have to offer. Although I'm sure that there are millions of us who are not familiar with the rules of the World Cup, or soccer in general, anyone who has followed one of the 4 popular American team sports is familiar with tournament brackets. Well, the World Cup follows the same guidelines. I'll get to that in a few minutes. But first, let me explain a little of the World Cup's history. The first World Cup was played in 1930 between 2 South American nations, Uruguay and Argentina. Uruguay won that match 4-2. Since the first World Cup in 1930, there have been another 17 World Cup competitions, with the games of 1942 and 1946 not being played due to World War II. And similar to how the NBA, NFL, MLB, and NHL all have dynasties, the same is true of international soccer. In 76 years and 18 World Cup competitions, only 7 countries have taken home the 18-karat gold trophy that stands a little over a foot tall in height. Those countries are England and France, who have each won once, Uruguay and Argentina, who have each won twice, Germany, that has won 3 times, Italy, which has won 4 times, and Brazil, whose teams have won the most World Cup titles of all, with 5 championships. In 1982, the number of competing World Cup teams was expanded to 24, and it remained at 24 until 1998, when the tournament was expanded to 32 teams. In order to qualify for the field of 32 teams, teams from around the world compete in what's called the qualification phase, a 3-year competition which narrows the field of possible participants down to 32 teams. The qualification phase in the past 3 years following the 2006 World Cup saw a record number of teams attempting to qualify for this year's Cup. 204 teams. Once the field is narrowed down to 32 teams, the teams are grouped into 8 groups of 4 teams each, with each group marked with a letter from the letters A through H. The tournament then begins what is called a round-robin tournament, in which each team will play a minimum of 3 games. The standings are established by giving each winning team 3 points for a victory. The teams are given 1 point for a tie game and no points for a loss. At the end of the round-robin tournament, the 2 teams awarded the most points advance to the next round of the World Cup. After the round-robin competition, each advancing team moves on to what's called a single-elimination knockout round. Although this round has been nicknamed the knockout round, in reality, all games from this round on could be called the knockout round, because it's only 1 game and a team either wins or goes home. Similar to other sports, each round can effectively be called quarterfinals, semifinals, and final. Here in the United States, we call the game soccer, and when we hear the term football, we think of a game most followed in the United States, in which teams of large, muscular players in heavily padded uniforms tackle, pulverize, and chase each other around on a 120-yard field with an ultimate goal of crossing a goal line by carrying or throwing and catching a brown oval-shaped ball. While this American sport is known as football, the ball is actually only kicked a few times per game. In the rest of the world, what we call soccer is known as football, a sport that started in England sometime in the mid-19th century. But today, from England to Australia, Africa to Asia and South America, football or soccer is by far the most popular team sport in the world. Although most of us in the U.S. have been led to believe that popular American sports like basketball, baseball, and American football are the world's most popular sports, television ratings and statistics give us a more accurate assessment of what is truly the world's #1 sport. According to 2006 viewer track records, the 2006 FIFA World Cup final match between France and Italy was watched by an average audience of 260 million viewers, with a total audience of 603 million. In comparison, that same year's Super Bowl between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Seattle Seahawks was the second most watched sporting event and drew an average audience of 98 million with a total audience of 151 million. Coming in 10th place was Game 6 of the NBA Finals between the Miami Heat and the Dallas Mavericks, which attracted an average audience of 17 million with a total audience of a little less than 50 million. In other words, American football and basketball don't even come close to the World Cup. When we add this to the fact that 90% of the Super Bowl's viewing audience comes from the United States alone, we can see that soccer is hands down the real global sport. So to all our basketball fans, after Kobe, Gasol, Pierce, and Garnett have settled their latest rivalry, tune into South Africa and check out what the rest of the world is watching. If team sport is your competition, you might just like what you see. This is Mark Wells, and this has been the Wells Report on the FIFA World Cup for My People.
If you have a business in Metro Detroit, you should be in the Detroit Black Pages. For info, call 961-3289. That's 961-3289.
Hello, my name's Gary Rocamore, and I'm the president of the All Home Improvement Repair. It's about that time to get your home repaired. Give us a call at 739-7771. That number again is 313-739-7771.
Little Rock Baptist Church is the going church for the coming Christ. You want to find out more about services which are held every Sunday at 11 a.m.? Call 313-872-2900.
There are 3 basic necessities every business needs: a business plan, a bookkeeper, and a website. Call Project Bait for all 3. Call 313-871-3333. That's 313-871-3333.
Hello, my name's Gary Rocamore. I've worked with Project Bait for many years. We're having our 40th year reunion for Project Bait. If you're interested in joining us, please call us at 313-871-3333. Again, that number is 313-871-3333.
The preceding program was produced by Project Bait and does not reflect the views of this station.